Come on, guys. You guys should know Russian Tortoise care and not be making these mistakes. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying that because the last Russian Tortoise care video, or not care video, mistakes video, did so well and is still doing well. So I thought I would do 5 more to help you guys out. I'm sure you guys are all fantastic owners. I just had to come in with some fire. So let's get to it and let's talk about 5 more Russian Tortoise care mistakes. Let's go. Hey guys, how's it going? You know, it's the beginning of a new year. I'll be completely bald. Yellow Ackie, Reptile. As mentioned, there are many care mistakes that you could possibly make, really with any living thing, but in this case, exotic pets, reptiles. So let's talk about 5 more specific to the Russian tortoise, and if this does well again, maybe I'll make 5 more for Tegu's and Ackie Monitors, which I've already done a base version of, but I could definitely come up with 5 more for each. So let's get to it. Let's start with our number 5. I really can't stand the rain. In the summer, it's all right, especially because I like thunderstorms, but any other season, I just can't stand the rain. And Russian tortoises, they don't like moisture as well. They're a very dry species. But they still need humidity, just like we still need humidity. You ever wake up when it's getting drier out because it's getting towards winter and you got sort of a sore, dry throat? You know, that's what tortoises get. Not really, but I like to imagine so. Basically, number 5 is you need humidity in their enclosure sparingly. It actually is very important. You can do this in a couple ways. For one, you could offer always a constant moist hide. That will work very well for them. Or occasionally, you can spray down their enclosure and that will give them that humidity requirement that they so want. Forgot to take you guys off my head, but I go ahead and I spray down my Russian tortoise enclosure. I don't have a moist hide. Like I said, that works totally fine and is a totally perfect way to go about it and lets them choose. But I go ahead and I spray down the enclosure. And I do that about once every 2 weeks, maybe even a little bit longer, specifically when it's drier. So let's say the winter months, I like to stay in tune with the environment and the weather and the season. I might go longer. So you don't have to do it too often, and I don't want to downplay it, but it's really not as vital as some other care elements. It could definitely impact your tortoise if coupled with some other husbandry mistakes, but it's definitely alone probably not going to cause major issues. But I don't want to downplay it. Like I said, it's definitely important and definitely a mistake I see commonly done. You want to know another mistake? Not subscribing to this channel, because we have the best Russian tortoise content on YouTube. In fact, we probably have like the only Russian tortoise content on YouTube. So make sure you hit that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner and ring that bell for the latest updates on the channel. Thanks everyone. Coming at you with number 4, and this one is one that you can do before you even bring your Russian tortoise home. In fact, I might be even cheating here a little bit because technically really has nothing to do with husbandry. It's the source in which you get your Russian tortoise. Now I wanted to bring this up because apparently it's a major issue that I'm pretty ignorant towards. I don't really, or haven't really heard about this happening, although I understand it can happen. You know, this isn't a huge expense in terms of a reptile, and it's definitely totally possible. I can see people thinking a Russian tortoise would be a good family pet, then realizing it's gonna live 60 years and then trying to rehome it, but they're frequently rehomed, put into sanctuaries or rescues. And I wanna thank Adam from over at Uncharted Wild. Check him out on YouTube, great channel, for letting me know a little bit about this. Man, I just had like a fly in my throat. He even let me know that he sees them a lot at some PetSmarts and stuff, and I've never seen any tortoise at a PetSmart, although I do not put it by them. It definitely, again, is something pretty believable. So I wanted to put this in here because this is something I just learned, and I think it's worth, I'm not even Englishing right. I believe it's important and worth passing this information along if you guys didn't know either. And maybe you do know, maybe you're beating me in this care of Russian tortoise knowledge, which congratulations. Essentially, guys, make sure you know where you're getting a Russian tortoise from. And I'm gonna go ahead, because I get a lot of people who ask me where a good place to get a Russian tortoise is. I'm gonna go ahead and find that out for you guys. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research and digging up and find some good Russian tortoise breeders for you guys. When you ask and you want one, I can recommend you. All right, let's move on. Let's have a little conversation on substrate.
Squidward, we don't need television. Not as long as we have our
proper substrate.
Asian.
Now what I use is purely topsoil, and that has worked pretty good, all organic. That's what you want to aim for. That's my go-to. There is quite a little bit of a range, but one you definitely don't want to use is sand. This will stick a lot to things they eat, especially because a lot of people will feed them on kind of bricks and rocks in their enclosure, which is pretty mashed up with the substrate. It's very fine grained, and even play sand, which is acceptable in a lot of reptile enclosures, will be somewhat hazardous. Now, I'm not exactly sure of all the potential complications, but one other one I can tell you hints back at our number 5, and that's that it's kind of too dry. When you add in that humidity, you don't want it to just dissipate and not exist there after, maybe 30 minutes at an hour. You want it to stay there for maybe a couple days probably, especially several inches into the substrate. There might be some dampness, and that's good. You want the Russian tortoise to have a little bit of choice in that, and that's where a moist hide might be a little beneficial compared to spraying it down, but depends on your enclosure. Overall, with the ferociousness of eating in Russian tortoises and how people prepare or put in their meals, and along with sand being too dry, it's probably not going to make a good substrate, and I definitely don't recommend it. It's potentially dangerous, and there are a few other ones that might be potentially dangerous, like hay, so keep an eye on that. I know hay can be somewhat of a good diet for a Russian tortoise and add to the overall diet, but it's definitely not fitting of a substrate. So that's our number 3. Let's move on to number 2. This number 2 is going to act as a clarification for some things I mentioned in the past, specifically in the Russian tortoises being the best beginner reptile video I did, which I still stand by, but I think one good important note is that adult Russian tortoises, which are very hardy and receptive to possibly bad husbandry changes, maybe not overall, but definitely can deal with it better than a lot of other species. Babies are not like that. Babies require a lot more specific care. For instance, the humidity I mentioned, we're going back to number 5 again. This is something that's not a huge deal for adults, but is a huge deal for babies. In fact, people say to soak them pretty often, maybe even every day as babies. You want to know what else is really important as a baby? Their shell growth and development, because that's when their shell is evolving and changing the most. So if you make mistakes there with husbandry, for instance, you don't provide proper UVB or something like that, it's going to be very hard to correct and fix those issues, and it's not going to happen over a long period. There's going to be problems happening in the short term because of how quickly they're developing and growing. And overall, tortoises, they are slow growers, but those first couple years are vital. Let me tell you, diet, anything really husbandry related, is going to be most essential in their first couple years of life. Obviously, it's important to continue with a good diet and good husbandry, but as babies, that's where they're most vulnerable. After a couple years, several years, that's when you get your hardy Russian tortoise. But those first couple ones, be wary, be concerned, and if you did watch that beginner reptile, Russian tortoises are the best beginner reptile video, just know that and be prepared to kind of be more on top of them their first couple years of life. So, important clarification, that's our number 2. And at our top spot for today's list, we have cohabbing. A lot of people want to cohab Russian tortoises. I get DM'd a lot about cohabbing them. And like other reptiles, specifically with males, there will be forms of bullying. Now, I know there are other channels on YouTube, such as Camp Kedden, who cohabs different tortoise species, and it can be done, but he's also shown plenty of examples of males who have kind of gone at each other and had sort of a problem with who's the dominant one, and that can definitely happen with Russian tortoises, and it can be dangerous. There can be actual problems that are caused. They are slow moving, they aren't as, possibly in your face and aggressive as some lizards or snakes, but they can cause harm to each other. My recommendation with cohabbing Russian tortoises is really no different than what I say with Ackie Monitors. I really would only do it if you intend to breed and I would only do it if you have some hands-on experience with Ackie monitors and understand their behavior. Because even if you are cohabbing them for breeding purposes, they might need to be separated because one might just be overly aggressive. For example, in Ackies, females, when they're about to lay, they can get kind of aggressive because the males in the territory they want to lay, you guys probably understand, but there is potentials for that. So that's my same stance with Russian tortoises. I would not do it, and you're not doing them any favors by putting them in with another one of their species. They don't enjoy it. They're not gaining anything from it. So that's why it's really only kind of important to do it if you're breeding them. So that's my stance there. Don't cohab, it's just really unnecessary. So now we have a total of 10 Russian tortoise care mistakes that hopefully at least one of them have helped you out. And if it has, let me know in a comment below. I would love to hear that one of these are at least improving your husbandry in some way, because that's what these videos are meant for. Otherwise, also leave a comment if you have some feedback or have a question for clarification. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure to subscribe and like as well. Alrighty guys, I appreciate you watching. Make sure to stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you guys then. Bye everyone.